What is up, California? Thank you guys for coming out. What can I tell you about myself? I live in northern Mexico, a place called Houston, Texas. And I love doing comedy. I love traveling around. I get to go to all different places. I've been to third world countries. I've been to El Salvador, Guatemala, Arkansas. I actually worried about saying that on the DVD. I thought I might offend people from Arkansas, but then I thought, one, they can really take a joke, and yeah, two, this is going to be on a DVD, not VHS. So it's not like they're going to see it, but I love my job. I even get to go out of the country. A couple weeks ago, I was in Canada. I did a show for the Canadian Army base. They even let me shoot their main weapon. Oh, I love that slingshot. I was like, pow, pow. That's right, bilingual. And I do. Before I became a comedian, actually my childhood dream was I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player, but then I realized that that's never going to happen because I'm afraid of needles. So let me know when you're done. Just filming a DVD. Where do you live? 5 minutes from here. I came from Texas. I was on time. You couldn't get here on time? What's up with that? And you got a huge watch. You got Big Ben hanging off your arm. You can't know what time it is? I'm just going to do the whole DVD like this. No. I'll pretend I'm a girl and you'll be used to me leaving you alone. So, but no, I did. I really did want to be a sports guy. I'm not into sports now. Although for Halloween, I did dress as Tony Romo. And when the kids knocked on the door, I opened the door and I threw the candy to the wrong kids. I'm hearing a lot of O's now. What is up with that? Like, I'm interested. Is it because you guys are Tony Romo fans, or is it because I'm a Christian talking about Halloween? Huh? You guys know that's a hot topic. A lot of people are like, don't talk about Halloween if you're a Christian, because some people are... I'm actually for Halloween. Honestly, I think it is the best way. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable here tonight, but I think it's the best way to teach my kids about the IRS, because I let them go out and get the candy, and when they come home, I take 50% of it right then. This year, I'm taking 60. So, it's okay. I'm going to give them free health care. But seriously, I am so blessed to be able to do comedy because, laughter is God has given us an amazing tool. Laughter, it is a healing power. I actually was on a plane about a month ago, and it was a really cheap airline. It was, I think it was called Kanye West. And no, I don't know what the airline was called. I do know the plane took off, so I know it wasn't American Airlines. If you haven't tried to fly, that is not a joke, okay? I actually have a neighbor that has a dog, and he kept running away. He renamed it American Airlines. It never went anywhere again. I love how people are looking around to see if I'm offending anybody. Everybody relax. I'm not going to offend. If somebody was working for American Airlines and they were coming to my show tonight, they're still sitting in their driveway. No, but I had a cool thing happen. I got on this plane. It was early in the morning. It was like 5:30. If you've ever flown in the morning, nobody talks. Everybody's kind of in a bad mood. And I sat down, and the coolest thing happened. It was so cute because I love kids. And this 5-year-old kid just peeked up from the seat back in front of me, and he just goes, hee hee, right? I know, and my heart melted. So I was like, hee hee. Which, I don't know if you ever are going to be in that situation, but if you ever are, don't do that. Don't go hee hee. What you need to do is quickly stab him in the eye. I'd never played the hee-hee game, but evidently the rules are every 10 seconds he goes hee-hee, and he expects me to go hee-hee. So I'm sitting there, it's 5:30 in the morning, I'm going hee-hee, hee-hee. Anyone else want to play? It's fun, hee-hee, hee-hee. Huh? Anybody? Huh? What's his mother doing? Yep, she's still drinking, hee-hee, hee-hee. Normally I'm a nice guy, but he just finally, it was too much. He was like, hee-hee. I was like, ha-ha! Game over. I won. You know what I won? I won a different seat on the plane next to Air Marshal Jim. And this is why I tell you the story, because this is when I realized what a gift God has given us with laughter. I got out this magazine, and it was full of all these interesting facts. It had some things I knew, some things I did. One of the things that stuck out was trampoline is an Olympic sport. I thought, like, what? Yeah, what's next? Tag, hide and seek? What's going on? Red Rover? Sorry, you got to admit, that would be fun to watch. Like, Red Rover, let China come over. Actually, China would win. They can go under our arms. But no, so I was flipping through it, and this is where I saw it, because I love when science catches up with how amazing God is and all the things he's given us. And one of the things in there, it says laughter is 10 times more powerful than morphine, one of our strongest drugs. And laughter is, I was like, that is awesome. I don't want them to do away with morphine. I mean, let's be honest. If I break my leg in half, I don't want my doctor standing over me going, knock, knock. You quit screaming and say who's there. Come on. This is part of your HMO. Come on. Like, what? But it is. And so it was so great. I was in a good mood then, but I put the In-Flight magazine. My good mood didn't last long because as we were taking off, I took out my iPhone, which, and yes, I caved. I bought the iPhone. It's like, don't you feel pressure to have the latest technology? Like, that's why I bought it. And I'm embarrassed to say this, but I got tired of kids having better phones than me. Like, after the show, kids would come up and go, hey, I recorded your show, not all of it, just the funny part, so it's only 7 minutes long. But I'm loading it on my Facebook, but we can watch it right now if you want to, because I have a picture and a picture. Do you want some popcorn while we're watching? Hold out your hand. I got so embarrassed and going, oh, yeah, you want to play Snake, huh? Or make a phone call? Nope, I got AT&T, no bars. So I did. I bought the iPhone, and so I was playing this game called Tap Tap. This is kind of a fun game, and I was playing this game, and as we were taking off, and the flight attendant came down and yelled at me. It kind of startled me. He was like, put your phone up. And I was like, don't yell at me. He's an air marshal. And here's what he told me. He goes, you got to put that phone away, make sure it's turned off. It has to be turned off completely because it messes with the instruments on the plane, and the plane will crash. I laughed out loud, and normally I'm not disrespectful. I was like, the plane will crash if my phone is on. I'm like, if that was true, why would terrorists go to all the trouble to sneak a bomb on the plane? Why wouldn't they just jump up in the middle of the flight and be like, I will now fling this angry bird. And we will die like pigs. Like, what? But it is. I looked it up. It is actually a federal offense. You could actually go to jail. I actually read this thing, and it said nobody's gone to jail, thankfully. And thankfully, he didn't prosecute, because I don't want to go to jail for anything, but definitely not for that, because, how long would I last in jail? Big old dude walking up going, what are you in for? I'd be like, oh, I'll tell you. I hope you have a strong stomach, because this is a horrifying story. I was sitting on the airplane, and I had my phone out. And I was playing Tap Tap. That's right, you spread the word, nobody better mess with me or I'll get you. Tap, tap. Like, what? But I looked it up in the hotel, and it was true. I couldn't believe it, which, by the way, I did have a cool thing happen, because I love whenever you find ways to be Christ-like to people. I got to the hotel, and the lady didn't have the room ready, and she thought I was going to yell at her. And I was like, you know what? I'm a Christian. I got too much joy to get mad about stuff like that. Besides, there's stuff I can do in the lobby. And because I was Christ-like, she immediately went and got a room for me. And she came out and said, I got a room for you. And I was like, cool. And so I put up my toenail clippers, and I went in, so I'm just saying, WWJD. So I do. Comedy is a powerful tool, and it means a lot that you guys came out tonight. Even when I was young, people would encourage me to do comedy. A lot of adults, I remember one teacher actually pulled me out in the hallway and was like, God has blessed you with being able to do comedy. You need to quit school right now. You need to make your dream come true. So I did. I grew up in this really small town. We grew up poor. We had to get over that. We were very poor, really poor. I had to wear hand-me-downs from my younger brother. I'll let that sink in for some of you. I did not look good in capris. And my dad would do these weird things because he wanted to make us feel like we had things. Like my mom wanted a trash compactor, so every night after dinner, my dad would pick me up and use me to mash the trash down. I know, I hated it. I remember yelling, no, please, feet first, feet first. I got off better than my brother because my mom also wanted a garbage disposal. My brother, I gained 30 pounds one Christmas. But my dad had a weird sense of humor. He would do stuff like that, and you never could tell if he was doing it just because he's weird or he had, a sense of humor. He was pulling pranks and stuff. My dad taught me how to play slug bug. You see a Volkswagen Beetle, you punch a person. He taught me the rules, and then he drove me to a Volkswagen dealership. Some things it took me months to learn. I remember he used to let me always lick the cake beaters after he'd make a cake, and I always would brag about it, and until one day I realized, you can turn them off first. I was all like, he loves me better. One prank I didn't even get until I was an adult. My dad never said a word about this, but when I was first doing stand-up, I was in Florida, no, it wasn't Florida. It was Philadelphia. It's Philadelphia, sorry. I knew it was a state that started with an F. I am not good at geometry. But we were up north, and we were staying in tents. It was a youth retreat, and they were like, we don't want to scare you, but there's bears here. Do you know what to do if you're attacked by a bear? And I was like, absolutely, because my dad used to tell me what to do if I was attacked by a bear right before he dropped me off in the woods when I was little. He would be like, you don't want bears to smell you, so you need to rub meat on your body. And well, evidently that's not what you do. They told me something totally different. What do you do if you're attacked by a bear? What do? You run? Okay, yeah. Yeah. Hang on, I'll be fast food for you. What else? Anybody else? What do? You make yourself big? Hang on. 1, 2. What? You curl up in a ball. Hang on, I'll become more bite-sized for you. These are all play dead. That's what they said. Okay, again, not to call people liars, but could anybody in this room do that? I'm not that good of an actor. If a bear's tearing through my tent, be like, "Rah!" And I'd be like, oh. Even if I could do that, the bear's bound to be like, this dead guy just wet himself. I actually was attacked by, I laid awake all night worrying about bears attacking me, and then I went down to the river the next morning and to splash water in my face, and I did get attacked by an evil. And here's the deal. I know fully well when I say this, you're going to think they're not evil animals, but these are horrible animals. I got attacked by a goose. You know what I'm talking about? It was a Canadian goose. Oh, it was an American-hating Canadian goose. Those, you know what I'm talking about? They got the big long neck with the big furry hat with the chin strap, and I could tell it right away because he was like, okay. And he came out of nowhere. He bit me. I went running back into the camp where all these kids were. I looked like an idiot because I was like, ah! And they were like, what is it? Is it a mountain lion? Is it a bear? Is it Edward Cullen? What's coming after us? I just looked so ridiculous. I was like, no, it was a goose. No, you don't understand. It came out of nowhere. There was no warning. I thought at least I would see like a duck and then a duck and then a... Everybody get it that's going to get it? No child left behind. So... But my dad he would pull all these weird pranks on me because I think he knew that my mind was made differently. And now I realize it's because God created, he's given everybody an individual talent. And I really believe he gave me this mind so I could do comedy, but some things I wouldn't get. My dad, every night, he had me for a year, had me take communion. And I thought it was because I was a strong Christian kid. And then finally my brother was like, dude, he's just giving you NyQuil. So... I busted him on it too. I was like, what about the bread? Isn't there supposed to be some bread? He was like, oh, bread. Yeah, well, you know what? We'll just double up in the juice. God knows our heart. So, and I kind of understand why he would do stuff like that, because here's the deal. I was a very good Christian kid. I was not mischievous. I never did anything bad. But I noticed that a lot of mischievous and bad stuff happened right around me. You know, I'm going to give you an example, and this is something I did not do. It was not my plan, but my dad to this day still thinks I was involved with it. My brother and I owned a mowing company. We called it Smiley Brothers Mowing Company. We give you mower for your money. We were idiots. But anyway, we had a lawnmower, and we had a weed eater, and then we had the leaf blower. Sorry. My brother used to call it a cat blower, and I was like, dude, why don't you mature a little bit and grow up? Call it a feline flinger. So this is what happened, and I did not have any part of this. My next door neighbor got home early, and he walked in. He got home really early. He walked in, and he heard his wife getting out of the shower. He ran over. He thought it'd be funny to borrow my leaf blower, sneak in, and as she was blow drying her hair, burst into the room and blow dry her hair, right? It's totally cute. Had she known that her husband had gotten off work early, or she had her glasses on. She couldn't see it all. All she saw was a blurry psycho with a chainsaw burst in, going, ah! She screamed so loud, she lost her voice for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, she could not say a word. And the whole story got out at our church, and that's when my dad thought I put him up to it, because then my brother and I, we made hundreds of dollars renting that leaf blower to every husband in town. Yeah, we never mowed a lawn again. We were like, Smiley Brothers Leaf Blowing Rental Company. Render her speechless. But we would, and I look back and I realized that God had made my mind to do comedy, and I wasn't even trying, because I never tried to be smart like when I was little, but, I wouldn't get stuff, and I was always comfortable asking questions, and that would get me in trouble. The rules to the fire got me in trouble. The teacher's like, in the event of a fire, walk, don't run. And I was like, if there's a fire, I'm running, okay? What do you want us to do? Walk down the hallway while flames lick around her body like, la, la, la. Ow. One teacher said in the event of a fire, walk single file. I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's form a human wick. Like, want the fire to catch up with? It's like... Another rule we had was last person out of the room had to shut all the windows. I was like, okay, let me get this straight. If there ever is a fire, we're all standing outside watching the building burn, watching one kid frantically try to shut all the... Hey, there goes Jimmy, you can do it! What a shame. He almost made it to that last window, right? And I wasn't trying to be smart aleck. I just didn't get some. First grade, my teacher said, class, you have to raise your hand to go to the bathroom. I was like, no, you don't. Watch. So I do. I love comedy, but my favorite job is something that my wife and I started 14 years ago. And we started this nonprofit organization called Being a Parent. Some of you know what I'm talking about. It is. We are very blessed. We have 3 tax deductions, all boys. And there's so much to learn, especially when we had our first one. I knew nothing. I remember the nurse was telling me, now if babies can't blow their nose, so you have to use this. And she handed me this weird looking, it was like a turkey baster butterball. You know what I'm talking about? And I was like, what is this? She goes, you put it in your son's nose and you go like that. Yeah, I was like, yeah, then what happens? His head caves in? I don't think so. Because doesn't that make sense? No! Now he's going to be a Democrat. So... Am I still in California? Wow. I'm Bob Smiley, and I approve this message. Wow, I love you people. Anyway, So it is, but it's very difficult, especially to be a comedian and try to be a good dad. You know, even the doctor got mad at me at one point because he was like, if the baby's crying, it's because of three things. One, he's hungry. Two, he's tired. Or three, he has a dirty diaper. And I was like, wait a minute. Shouldn't dirty diaper be number two? He didn't even laugh. He just turned to my wife and gave her a pamphlet on single parenting. And my wife could do it. That is one thing I love to talk about because my wife is an amazing woman of God. She is very, very smart, I'll tell you that. She's almost too smart. I don't know if other husbands deal with this, but I don't like to argue with her because I do not like looking words up. It's like arguing with the source. She'll be like, your problem is you're too assiduous when dealing with contravention. You need to absolve and commute those wrongdoings, then exonerate those around you. And I'm like, I know you are, but what am I? She is. She's so amazing. I love her. So we've been married 16 years. And I got a question. I want to know. Well, okay, thank you for both of you. I think that's girls just clapping, going, oh, good, he won't hit on me after the show. Are there anybody here just married? Of course not. Why would you leave the house? Sorry, that's a dumb question, because that's a lot of organizing and unpacking, I remember. No, there's got to be somebody here. Anybody here you guys? Okay, how long you guys been married? 1 month. Oh, yeah. Wow. I don't want to hang out with you two. No, nothing against you, but you guys are in that little syrupy suite. You know what I'm talking about? Like, we've got a couple at our life group been married for 2 months, and they're in that. Everything is just, you know what I'm talking about. Actually, a couple of weeks ago, there was one cookie left on the plate, and I was standing there in between them. Both of them reached for the cookie at the same time. Both of them said the exact same thing to each other. Both of them, the woman and the man. I was just standing there. Both of them reached for the cookie, and they looked in each other's eyes and went, no, you take it. No, you, Jinx, you owe me a Coke. Cherry Coke, right? We love Cherry Coke, Bob. I was like, oh, cool. Really regretting sitting there, weren't you? So, no, the best part was while they were doing all that, though, my wife took the cookie. So... She is amazing. So you said 1 month? Oh, sir, you're going to learn a lot. You are. I am not kidding. I learned so much, especially the first couple months. Like, for instance, I had no idea that the only way to properly clean your body is to obviously use Shea Butter Nectar Exfoliating Scrub. Like an idiot, I'd been using soap. Except in college when I used dryer sheets. But... laugh it up, I was April Fresh. Oh, you're going to learn, so much. It's just like the most amazing thing. And, that's the other thing, stay romantic. I kid about newlyweds being in that circle, but I think that's the way we should live our lives constantly. I try to do romantic stuff all the time for my wife. I'm not saying it to brag, but I will say this because I thought this was cool. I wrote a Mother's Day poem for her for Mother's Day, and I read it aloud to her, and it was so cool. You know, I mean, she didn't hear it over the lawnmower she was pushing, but... That is another thing. Listening is a huge key. And that's my biggest problem. So I work on it. I know what my problems are. I work on it. My wife actually emailed me last year and said, you need to work on listening to me more, which was weird because we were sitting on the couch together. And I turned to her. I was like, why didn't you just tell me? And she was like, I just did, but I could tell you weren't listening. But I know that's my fault, so I try to get better, and I haven't been good at that. You know, again, I live north of Houston, and we have mosquitoes there. My wife came in a couple of weeks ago and was like, I'm done with these mosquitoes. I want you to go to the store, and I want you to buy a bug light. And I was only half listening. Some of you are with me, right? I honestly thought my wife told me to go buy a Bud Light. And I was shocked. I was like, a Bud Light? When did we... become Baptist? So, that is a joke. Come on, if you're Baptist, don't come up after the show and pretend you don't drink. You do. You learn something every day, I think. If you're dedicated to each other, you learn. I learned a couple weeks ago not to text my wife to bring me a cup of coffee before I got out of bed that morning. And I learned that evidently she had been a sailor at some point, because those words I didn't have to look up. That's right, I went to public school. So now, I actually don't text her at all anymore because something happened a couple weeks ago. Actually, last week, because I was at Spirit West Coast, this great festival out here in California. Awesome. This is why I'm not ever texting my wife again. I was in the hotel lobby. I just had breakfast, and I just texted her 9 quick little texts. And I was in the hotel. I know in California you're supposed to text in your car only, but you guys have the weirdest phone rules about driving in the car, because you guys can't have your phone here, right? It's got to be here the whole time, right? Gonna cause a wreck? Totally fine. I don't get that. This is what I texted her. Good morning, my love. How's the greatest woman in the world? I ate too much for breakfast. I'm so miserably full, bloated and fat, totally disgusting. How's your mom doing? I know, and I didn't mean anything by it. I'm just not good at segues. I wrote, I got a sunburn yesterday at the festival because you could probably tell I'm a redhead, so I don't tan. I burst into flames. At Spirit West Coast, I couldn't even use regular sunscreen. I had to put on mayonnaise. Redheads, I don't get it. In fact, my only criteria for picking a wife was I wanted her to be a Christian, and then she couldn't be a redhead, because if we had kids, they'd be transparent. That's actually going to be my question for God. I know a lot of people have this one question they're going to ask God when they get to heaven, why did you make fire ants? Or who shot JFK? Or Kardashians? Really? Not me. I'm going to be like a pale, skinny redhead. That's what I feel like God on the 6th day, he was like, okay, all right, we're done. That's everything. Oh, I didn't make Bob Smiley. Oh, hey, what do we have left over? Angels are flying in. We found this albino. Cool. Anything else? Well, we got this clown wig. What else we got? We got a jar of freckles. Perfect. He'll be funny. So I didn't write all that to her. This was me just telling you, okay? Sorry, I got off track here. Anyway, this is what I wrote. I got a sunburn yesterday at the festival. It felt like I was a mile from the sun. Whoever thought a big ball of gas would make me so miserable? This is why I'm never texting her ever again. AT&T decided to only send half my text. So my wife got, good morning, my love. How's the greatest woman in the world? Bloated and fat, totally disgusting. How's your mom doing? Whoever thought a big ball of gas would make me so miserable? Oh, I'm never texting. I'm just handwritten letters only. And it is, but I'm so lucky because not only is she a good wife, she's a good mother. I mean, mothers are amazing. And she makes me want to be a better dad. That's how good she is, And I know there's things that I'm always going to struggle with, because I know it's good if you're a dad, it's good to be a macho dude, to have authority or at least have a voice that sounds like a man. My dad has a macho voice. My dad has a voice that he used to tell me to do something, and his voice would carry over the neighborhood, and other kids he'd be like, get out of that tree. Kids would be jumping out of trees everywhere. It was, and here's the horrible part. I've got a 14-year-old now, Coulter. His voice is deeper than mine. And it's only happened in the last week. I've never seen a kid go through puberty as fast. He was walking down the stairs. It happened in 30 seconds. He was like, hey, Dad, I'm really hungry. Can I have some cereal? What are you looking at? It's like, I'm watching you grow that beard. It's intimidating. And here's the other weird thing. I'm hearing myself saying things that my dad said to me when I was young that I promised myself as a kid, well, I'm never saying that. And now I'm saying it. Like, it's crazy. I'm like, quit crying or I'll give you something to cry about. Or, don't make me come up there. Or, hide in this box till company leaves. Or, Maybe that's a Texas thing. Or any parent here say something and you have to stop and think, did I really just have to say that? Like the weirdest statements come out of my mouth. I actually have said this. Wait a minute, did he bite you before or after you sprayed him in the eye with cologne? I never thought I'd have to say that phrase. I never thought I'd have to say this sentence. No, chicken pot pie does not have pot in it. Like... I've actually shouted out loud, whose toothbrush is on the commode seat? Like, I had to tell my 8-year-old, don't lick the dog. That one kind of made sense because we have a chocolate lab and he loves chocolate. And I know every father goes through that. My favorite father saying, and it's not something I said, was, why do you have scissors and where are your eyebrows? That's my favorite one because my dad said that to me. It's actually a true story. I was sitting on the couch, I was watching cartoons, and there were scissors laying there, and I don't even know why I did this, but I just picked them up, and I just started doing this real softly. It felt good. And I was engrossed in the cartoon, so I just sat there for like 30 minutes. I don't know what I was thinking, and my dad came in. I was like, hey, Dad. He's like, hey, whoa! He was angry. He yelled at me. My dad doesn't yell at us, and he yelled at me. He was like, what are you doing? You are embarrassing your mom. You are 22 years old. Scissors have always gotten me in trouble. Here's another true story. The first time I ever went to the ER was running with scissors. And I am not making this up. Running with scissors. I finally became an adult. What did I do? How did I handle the responsibility? Yes. Woo! Like what? And it was unbelievable. I stabbed myself in the hand with scissors while I was running. I'll tell you the story in a second. But when I got to the ER, because my mom had been telling me for years, don't run with scissors. And I was like, oh, that was really true. I thought when we got to the ER, there'd be like tons of people in there that didn't listen to their parents. You know, listen to their mom's advice. You know what I'm talking about? Like there'd be a guy that made a face and it stuck that way. You know, like... I should have listened to my mother, you know. Or be a guy who almost drowned because he didn't wait 30 minutes before he swam after eating. Be a guy that was in an accident and he didn't have on clean underwear. Oh, I was hoping I didn't have to stand behind him. But you know what I'm talking about? So here's the story. So I was living in Nashville. It's the first year I was doing, actually the second year I was doing stand-up, and I was a starving artist, so my apartment was bare. I had nothing. I couldn't afford anything. I ate off a Frisbee. I drank out of a Yahtzee cup. I had to, like, basically I had 2 pair of pants, 1 pair of shorts. I had 20 T-shirts, but they all said Newsboys on it. Because I toured with the Newsboys for the first year. I did 2 tours. I did the Love Liberty Disco Tour, which was fun, but they made me wear an all-white disco suit, and I just bleached my hair blonde, so I looked like a used Q-tip. And then I did Festival Con Dios, which was a traveling festival with 11 Christian bands, Christian road crew. Actually, everything was Christian. Even our bathrooms, we had 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John. Anyway, that's all I had. That's all my clothes, except I had one dress shirt that I wore to church every time, which was this mechanic shirt that said Sergio on the name tag. I love that shirt. I actually found it behind Anyway, I was poor. So I was sitting on my bedroom floor because it was totally empty, and I was cutting out ramen noodle coupons. And I remember because I was excited because it was 50% off. I was like, there's 8 cents savings. And I heard SpongeBob come on my TV in the living room, and, you know, I'm like every other adult. I like to be right in front of the TV when I go, aye, aye, Captain. So I jumped up, and I ran in, and the only other thing I had was I had a TV, and I had this... I feel like I should stop and say this is a true story again, because all I had that I actually slept in was I had a 2-man flat-bottom plastic boat that I'd gotten that my dad gave me, or he didn't give me. He just wasn't home when I moved. Serves him right. He was at the graduation party for me that he and Mom threw me, but forgot to invite me. Sorry, I shouldn't even talk. I know my best friend's always like, "Don't talk about that." And actually, he's not my best friend, sorry. He's always saying that. He's like, don't call me your best friend. Call me your therapist. But I had this plastic 2-man boat, and I slept in that, which is actually really comfortable because I had a ton of blankets and pillows. So I don't know where the camera is, but thank you, Delta Airlines. So I would sleep in that, but I had the boat in front of the TV. Well, I was so excited about SpongeBob coming on that I ran in, I tripped over the boat, and the scissors I was carrying went, and it didn't go into the bone or anything. It went right into the skin, just right up there like that. And to be honest, at first I was like, oh, cool. Because I could do my hand like this, and the scissors would go, So I did that for a little bit, but then it started to hurt, and I was like, well, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know if I should pull the thing out, but then I remember I read that if it hit an artery, if you stabbed yourself and it hit an artery and you pulled it out, you could bleed to death, and, I didn't know if I had arteries in my hand. Again, public school, so... So I jumped in my car, which was the worst car in the world. It was a Geo. And it didn't Geo anywhere. Oh, it was so slow. I'm not condoning this, but I actually, one time when I was very young, I tried to outrun a cop in that Geo, which was the dumbest move. Yeah, he caught me right away, and he was mad too. He jumped off that bicycle and ran over. Didn't you hear me ringing that bell? So I got in the car, and I drove to the hospital. I had to actually stop and ask somebody. So when I got to the ER, I went in. I didn't even know what to do, and the ER was packed. And I just want to throw this in because I thought it was cool, because I think elderly people are the coolest people in the world. And so right as I walked in, there was this elderly lady, and it was so full, but there was one empty seat in the emergency room, waiting room, and she was making her way over to the chair, and right as she turned to sit down in the chair, this punk just slid in and sat down in the seat. I got mad immediately. I was like, I'm going to pull these scissors out. You will not have your eyebrows for long. I didn't even get to do that because all of a sudden the old lady just turned around and just sat in his lap. And then she just looked back and she goes, I'm sorry, I didn't think you'd be sitting here. I thought you would be out looking for your manners. And I was like, what? Anyway, I ran up to the ER lady, the check-in lady, and I was hurting by then. I ran up and she was the weirdest lady. She was like, hello. What seems to be the trouble? I was like, it seems I've stabbed myself with, I'm going to say scissors. She literally goes, well, I can tell you, yeah, those do look like scissors. Just have a seat and we'll have somebody look at you, Mr. Sergio. So... Total true story. Anyway, but the point is, I love being an adult. It is amazing, but there are a lot of responsibilities. You have to take care of yourself, in raising kids. Do you guys think it's harder to raise kids because of technology nowadays? Like harder than it used to be? Anybody? I see some people nodding, and the rest of you are texting right now. We got a lot of advice when we first started having kids, and it was all on Facebook, so that's where the experts are. But a lot of parents told us, don't let your kids play video games. If your kids play video games on the TV, whatever they do there, they're going to do it in real life. And I know that's an argument that a lot of people use. I'm like, I don't know if that's true. I played video games when I was a kid, but I've never run down an alleyway eating dots while 4 ghosts chased me. Like, what? Never been at a party going, oh, cool, that's a funny story. Hang on, floating cherry, yes. Like, what? But I do. I think it's more difficult because... you have to keep up with the technology. If you want to be a good parent, you have to keep up with what they're doing. My 10-year-old came in the other day to my office. He's like, hey, Dad, I created a cartoon. I want to upload it on my FTP site, but I forgot my password. Can you help me out? And I was like, yeah, I don't even know what you said. I didn't know what to say. Thankfully, my oldest was there, and he was like, Trent, what did we say about using big words in front of Dad? And I couldn't even argue because I had no idea what he was talking about. He had created a cartoon and he was uploading it, okay? When I was 10, I was not doing that, all right? I'm probably like most of you. When I was 10, I was like, this glue tastes good. I wasn't uploading anything. Any adults here remember when uploading just meant putting something in your nose? Anybody? Am I the only one to put anything and get it stuck in? When I was 9, I put a crayon on my nose, and then a friend of mine shouted my name, and I turned, and it broke. Yeah, and it stuck up there. I couldn't. I was like, no. I smell jungle green. I went to my dad. I was panicking. I was like, I got a crayon stuck in my nose. I don't know. We got to go to the ER. And he's like, we're not going to waste money on an ER. We live in Texas. Stand outside. It's hot. It'll melt. By the way, you really want to scare your friends? Have jungle green melt out of your nose. But I know that the video game thing, and I do agree that a lot of parents need to be more involved in what games their kids are playing. I don't think a lot of parents realize how much cussing is in that game Halo, and that's just me trying to open the case. Anybody else really start to lose your Christianity because of that tape they put on DVDs? And I hope whoever invented that tape, I still hope he gets to heaven, but I hope when he gets up there, God has those pearly gates just taped shut with that stuff. God just be standing over there on the other side. Hey, come on in. Oh, are you having a little trouble? Good. I lost 80,000 people to the other place because of your tape, right? So I do. So I think we have to watch the video game thing. We do have to monitor it, but I do know that a lot of kids stay indoors because it's a scarier time. Let's just be honest, right? We've got murderers, thieves, terrorists, Bill Maher. The government has that whole. If you see something, say something. That's their solution. If you see something weird, say something to someone. I'm like, dude, that does not work. If you're in Walmart, right? You're just walking around telling on everybody. Over there, over there, over there. Come here, over there, up there too. Yeah, you too. Right? I was in Walmart last year. I was walking around. I was like, I honestly thought I saw the weird. I didn't even know if it was a terrorist thing, but it's just weird. I called the manager. I was like, you see the person pushing the cart backwards with the sleeves cut off with the mullet drinking a beer? I think she has a gun. He was like, I hope so. It's Texas. Everybody's got a gun. So I do think that we have to be way more careful and stuff, but I think that we need to, because kids need exercise. Let's be honest, remember the game that we used to play called Go Outside? Anybody remember that? Yeah, wasn't that great? Oh, the graphics were amazing. We used to play outside. I used to play outside every day until the sun went down or until my dad would unlock the door. I just think technology tends to make kids lazier, and it's all over. I'll give you an example. I took my oldest son, Coulter, to a show of mine a while ago, and we stopped at a gas station afterwards to, have dinner, and I make that kind of money. And I told him, I said, hey, I sold some DVDs. I'll buy you anything in the store. My son went and bought a lollipop, and that's what got me started thinking about how technology makes people lazy. Now, you're probably confused. Let me clear it up. Lollipops nowadays have a motor on it that spins the lollipop for them, because evidently kids were getting winded going... And my son didn't even think anything about it. He just took the wrapper off and went, nah. About 20 seconds later, he was like, Dad, I'm tired. Will you hold my tongue out? So if you have kids, man, play with them outdoors. Give them some sun. And because I travel around and I see these kids. I think the health issue is a big deal. I see kids are overweight or they have asthma or they have ADD or they can't be within 10 feet of a peanut. You know what I'm talking about, the peanut thing? Texas has gone crazy in their schools. I went to have lunch with my son last year, and, it was a public school, so I was signing in and doing the retinal exam, and 3 different people in the office asked me, they were like, you don't have any peanuts, do you? And I noticed anti-peanut slogans all over the wall. The student counselor came out and was like, hey, is that a lunch bag? There's no peanuts in there. Finally, the principal walked by me, and she's like, sir, you don't have any peanuts in there. So as a joke, I was like, yeah, I got a Snickers bars. Is that cool? She goes, oh, you better be joking. Those things are packed with peanuts. I'll do a peanut pat down right now. Is our kids' health that bad that that's the one thing, peanuts? I asked my son, I was like, what's the deal with peanuts? He's like, oh, they tell us every week, don't bring any peanuts, don't hang around peanuts, don't get near peanuts. I was like, do they ever tell you don't do drugs? He goes, nope, just don't do peanuts. Is that our biggest thing? Is our kids are so unhealthy that peanuts are bad? Are there teachers in the classroom going, hey, you kid in the back, is that a payday? No, I promise. No, it's a bag of weed. Okay. I mean, are ex-drug dealers walking by playgrounds going, hey, you looking to score a bag of Mr. Salties? I got planners. What do you need? I'm like, what? So I honestly think, and every town has their struggles. I don't know what your town's struggle is. We live in a town actually north of Houston called the Woodlands. Anybody know about it? What do you know about it? It is nice, and this is why I ask people, because I don't want people to get the wrong idea about me, because it is way too rich. If there's a fire, the firemen will only use bottled water. It is very wealthy and rich. You're totally right, and I don't know how we got the house. God either blessed us with this house, or the elderly people we bought it from thought I was their grandson. I think it was God, because all I said was, we really would like to have this house, Nana, And it's all about how you look and what kind of car you drive. One of the school board meetings was about whether to make it an excused absence, because a lot of cheerleaders were getting Botox and they were taking a day off. Botox, which is sad on so many levels from a self-esteem issue, but also, I don't want cheerleaders having Botox. I don't want my cheerleaders out there going, we are spirit, yes we do, we are spirit, how about you? Oh, I lost my spirit. I did that show at a comedy club, and there was a lady down front who had just gotten Botox. She was not amused. She's like, you're not funny, no, you're not funny. I was like, you're not human. I did not say that. I just thought it. I'm a Christian. But I do, and so we're going to have to protect our kids. We're probably going to homeschool our kids, which is going to be a struggle for me. I'll be honest. I'm not lazy, but I don't want to go back and learn all 38 states, okay? And even when I try to help my kids, I got a phone call from my youngest kid, Xander's teacher, and she was like, hey, Mr. Smiley, are you helping your son with his homework? And I was like, absolutely. I'm one of those dads that cares about his son, and I'm here to help. You just tell me what to do. And she was like, stop it. She's like, first of all, atoms are not made up of proteins, electorals, and Gemini neutrons. And she was like, did you tell your son that a paradigm is basically 4 nickels? And I was like, yeah. So we're going to have to homeschool. And I'm not even nervous about it, because, I'm not going to have to do most of it. Because, again, my wife is going to she's an amazing woman. She can homeschool. I think women in general, and I'm not saying this to pander, but in fact, I want to say this, and I want this to be on a DVD, and I have no joke for it, so don't prepare for a joke. Honestly, I think more marriages would be just concrete and just more stronger and there'd be less divorce if, honestly, husbands would spend more time loving their wives and less time trying to get to the next level in their video game or planning their fishing trip. If they just honestly, I have no joke for this, I honestly think we need to love each other a lot more, and marriages will be better. I honestly believe that. Guys are always asking me, how do you have such a happy marriage? I'm like, dude, love your wife with all your wallet. Because women are amazing. Women, I'm honestly am blown away. Women can multitask. I've never seen anything like it. My wife can be in the kitchen. She can have a kid on one hip. She can be talking on the phone, be cooking our dinner, be doing our taxes, and feeding her chickens on Farmville all at once, right? I can't do 2 things. If I've got a drink in one hand and the remote control in the other, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm probably going to take a sip and the volume's going to go up. Women work harder. I honestly think they work harder than men, but nobody talks about it because women don't brag about how much they work. But when men finally work, we put up orange cones and a huge sign that says, "Caution, men are working." Honestly, and so I think we need that's my advice to you is every day wake up and say, how can I be a better husband? How can I be a better wife to each other? We do that, my wife. Even before I proposed to her, I said, and she didn't know I was going to propose, but I was like, hey, I want to see your list of what you want in a husband, because secretly I was like, I'm going to get this list, and then I'm going to be that list for her. And so she sat down, and she told me her list. She got the answer wrong. She was like, I like macho men. I like manly men. I was like, cool. And I wasn't this muscular when I met her, okay? I used to be really scrawny, but I try, and I'm not in sports now, but I was a star football player in high school. Wow. There goes my self-esteem. I'm going to go get some Botox. I really was. This is going to be awkward, but I'd forgotten how good I was. My dad actually found a tape whenever they were moving. It was a VHS tape, and it had two things on it I'd forgotten. One, I'd forgotten about, because at our church, everybody had to get up and say the books of the New Testament in front of our church, and I'd forgotten about this, but they recorded mine, and there I was in front of my church going, Matthew, Mark, Luke, Leia, C-3PO, Chewbacca, Romans, Galatians, Ephesians, Donner, Cupid, Blitzen, first and second, Philadelphia Eagles, Dopey, Sneezy, Doc, Jude, Law, first and second, third, Gear, and Partridge in a pear tree. Oh, my dad laughed at that forever. I was finally like, come on, man. College was hard, But I try to do things to make myself be a better, a macho dude. I work out. My wife's all into sports. She's all in a fantasy football league, and I'm in a fantasy marching band. But I try to work out more. This morning, I worked out on my forearms, on that the machine that works out your forearms, the vending machine. I do. I've been running a lot lately, thanks to that fact that ice cream van driver's a jerk. But I try all this stuff, and you can also safeguard your marriage. That's why I was glad Man vs. Wild got canceled. Did you ever watch that Man vs. Wild? This is what happened. They took this guy, Bear Grylls, and they dropped him off in these impossible to survive places, like Kilimanjaro, Everest, downtown LA. And he looked too manly. In contrast, it was horrible. So I realized we can't watch the show because they would drop. I watched him hike through 5 foot of snow up a mountain. He stayed warm because he made a blanket out of a cape. He took off Superman's corpse, and the whole time he's eating a fish because he stabbed a fish with a spear that he made out of a bamboo, and a toenail he ripped off his foot. And the dude is way too macho. We're sitting there watching the show, and my wife's watching that. Then she looks over at me. I'm sitting on the couch struggling because I can't get the lid off the Pringle can. Will you open this for me? So you do, and I do. I work out at the gym. I'll tell this story really quick. I actually got in a fight at the gym last year. And because here's the deal. When you're a comedian, you're on stage and you say something funny, people love you. But when you're off stage and you say something funny, you get punched. I was at this gym, and this guy was working out next to me, and he was way too loud. He was talking on the Bluetooth, and he was just way too loud. And so I thought it'd be funny if I took out my cell phone just to let him know subtly that he was being too loud. And so what I did was I was like, hey, Larry, listen how loud this guy is. He did not like comedians. And he looked over at me, and he was like, what's your problem? And this is where I should have turned off the comedy machine. I should have said, I'm sorry you're being a little loud, but what I said was, actually what I did was I faked a sneeze, and I went, sorry, I am allergic to jerks. And you are in full bloom. And I know, I totally shouldn't have done that. And he was like, oh, dude, it is on. So he put down his weights. He was like, and I was like, all right, let's do this. Clink. And he turned around and he goes, let's go outside. And I, again, can't turn it off. He's like, let's go outside. I was like, I'm married. And he was like, you got to go outside sometime. And I was like, no, I don't. It's called 24-hour fitness. And that's when he punched me. And I was going to hit him back, but then I remembered the story of Jesus, and I ran away faster than walk on water. No, I didn't. This is embarrassing, but he hit me so hard it hurt me, and so I kicked him. Yeah, don't worry, he was fine because I was wearing Crocs, and I might as well toss a Nerf football at him. And so I kicked him, and I actually bounced off, and then he hit me again, and and I'm not against violence, and I don't fight, but I did win the fight because I'd been in enough fights in high school that I know how to win a fight, and I'm not bragging about that, but if you're ever in a fight, all you have to do is just go, I know it's silly, but you do that, they're never going to hit you. So I try it. I also carry a little bag of glitter and throw it on them. It's nice. That is not going to be on the DVD. But no, so I do. I try to honor my wife because she does the same for me, and we both dated other people before, so we were able to find each other. And, I actually dated a model, which was weird, What? That was his best joke. I did date a model. Well, here's the deal. I don't know that she modeled, but she was skinny and she threw up a lot. So... Here's the thing, I was comfortable with my wife. Like, my wife, I was not really nervous. Because before that, actually, this is my most embarrassing moment. I was in 8th grade, and this will give you a good example of how anytime I involved with a girl, it was just horrible. I was in church, and I was sitting next to this girl named Christy, and I had a crush on her. And so the preacher said, bow your head, and everybody take the person's hand next to you. Well, if you have ever been an 8th grade boy, you know what happened. My hand didn't start sweating. It started raining out. It was pouring. My face just didn't get red. All of a sudden, pimples went brrrr. So I put my hand in her hand. It slipped out, which is super awkward for an 8th grade boy. So in my mind, I thought, okay, I'm going to squeeze her hand really tight so that doesn't happen again. I didn't stop to think, you don't take a sweaty hand and squeeze another hand in a quiet church building. It was dead quiet, and all of a sudden you hear... And I, of course, said the wrong thing. I was like, no, that was a loud one. Okay, on to the embarrassing part. So I'm holding her hand. I'm like, make it a quick prayer. Please make it, which is weird because anybody that knows me knows that I think prayer is one of the greatest. It's another thing my grandmother taught me was that you can pray, realize that you are praying to the Creator. The Creator wants to have a conversation. He wants to talk to you. He's given us His word through the Bible, and we get to talk. He doesn't even care if you fall asleep at night, which to me, that is an amazing, loving God because I'm just going to be honest. If I was God, I'd be like, did He just fall asleep? He can't stay awake long enough to, boy, I bet a little Charlie horse would wake that guy up. Like, don't judge me. I would. I'd come through the ceiling. I'd be like, ah! Tonight, the bed bugs will bite. I love prayer. It's so amazing. I love it. Because some people, they just pray. Some people pray to impress people. I was at a church one time, and this guy got up to pray, and you could tell he was just trying to impress people. And I love this story because he got busted with it. He got up, and he was like, God has it, says in your word. With great power comes great responsibility. And I didn't even let him off the hook. I was like, hang on, is that in first or second Spider-Man? Is that... But I love prayer. I love all prayer except for one that I led. Actually, 2 years ago, we had to change churches because that doesn't matter. Why would I tell you that? Actually, legally. Anyway, but we went a couple times, and then the week that we were going to place membership, we were late, so we had to sit down front where the empty seats were. And I was sitting there, and the preacher recognized me. So he goes, we got comedian Bob Smiley here. I'm going to ask him to lead the closing prayer. Here's how much I love prayer, and I'm totally not kidding. It's amazing that we get to talk to God. And I, in my mind, thought, I wish he wouldn't have said comedian because I don't want people to think I'm going to make them laugh during the prayer. I remember thinking that, and then later realizing that was a wasted thought because God had already decided, yes, you are. This had to be God. Maybe I'll ask him this because never before had I had a fly fly into my throat. In the middle of a prayer, right before we place membership, I'm there going, God, you are so awesome. You are amazing. You are... this kid was down front. He was like, he's possessed. I don't know why I told you that. Why was I? Oh, I was in 8th grade, and I was holding her hand. Medication's working. I'm holding her hand. I said, make it a quick prayer. That's how I got off on that. Make it a quick prayer, which was crazy because it wasn't a quick prayer. It was an old school preacher. So he was like, Lord, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning. And I was like, you better end it. You better end it now or I'm going to flood this church with my hand. All right, here it goes. Most embarrassing moment of my life. Halfway through the prayer, I realized the guy standing next to me hadn't taken my hand. I don't even know why it bothered me, but I'm thinking, why wouldn't he take my hand? It's the dry one. So halfway through the prayer, I totally snapped. I was like, dude, take my hand. He was missing an arm. And worst moment of my life. How do you recover from that? I'm like, dude, take my hand. I am a loser, Lord. He later became my best friend. He was so cool. His name was Jimmy. And obviously I felt so bad. And after the prayer, I was like, I'm so sorry. I don't even know what to say. And he cracked the best joke about it. He was like, no, I totally understand. I know you like her. And I've been in that situation before. And I was like, really? What'd you do? And he goes, dude, I cut my arm off. So I was so nervous, but it was so amazing because I always could rest assured knowing that God had created somebody special for me. And I didn't want to rush into any kind of relationship. And I hope that's the same way with you guys because any relationship that's not focused on God, or even if your relationship with God is not just constantly going and constantly in communication, it's not going to be good, you know? And I mean, we all have a path that God has planned for us, you know? And don't compare yourself to other people. I used to do that. First year I did stand-up, I traveled with this guy in Kentucky named Mark Clark, and he was the coolest Christian I've ever. He would get up and sound check, and he would just quote Psalms, like tons of pages. So people went to listen to his sound check, which made me nervous because then I was like, now I got to compete with that. You know, I'd get up there and I had nothing. I was like, it takes one to know one. He who smelt it, dealt it. Right? So I just, don't compare yourself. Just know that God has given you your own individual ministry and just know that he loves you. I mean, how great is that no matter what's going on, trials, tribulations, we can still have joy. Even death, you know what? How cool is it that we don't even have to be afraid of death, you know? I mentioned my grandmother a couple times during this, and, you know, she passed away last year, and I miss her, but you know what? She had the joy of the Lord. She was ready to go. She even told me, she was like, I'm ready. I get to go be with the Lord instead of down here with ye. You light up my life. I'm old. I don't know what I'm saying. So she was. I mean, she asked me to help plan her funeral. I thought it was going to be sad. We laughed the whole time because she was joyful about it. She truly got what it meant to be a Christian, you know, and we laughed a lot whenever we went to find out about the funeral arrangement. I wanted to be cremated, so I just asked the guy, I was like, how much is it? And he goes, $2,000. My grandma was like, $2,000? It costs $14 to stay at a state camping site, and they got a fire ring right there. She's like, Bob, you should do that. Your kids would think it's awesome, you know? Picture Coulter standing outside going, Mom, I'm cold. Throw another leg on the fire. So, I wish I'd recorded whenever she found out caskets were $5,000. It was the funniest thing. She was like, and what do caskets start at? So they were like $5,000. She's like, $5,000? It costs across the street from the nursing home is a Honda Civic for $2,000. All right, forget these caskets. This is what we're going to do. We're going to buy the Civic. You put me in it, then we won't need a hearse or a casket. You drive me right down into the hole. Like, she had the joy. We want to be with God, our Creator. You know, and I learned that early on. I actually learned about God's love at VBS. I went to VBS where they had a room full of heaven, all the things of heaven, and then they had a room full of hell. And, you know, it was a really conservative church. So it had, like, you know, murderers and lawyers and, you know, guys with long hair and, you know, a lot of Democrats. And you could tell there were guys running around going, my mullet's on fire. I want free health care. So But once you truly realize what heaven is, it sets you free just to like love life. And, I'll close with this. And you guys have been an awesome crowd. I knew this was a place to film. But I had this amazing moment last year. My oldest son came to me. He was like, hey, Dad, I want to play in the band. And I was like, cool. You follow your heart's desires. I want you to follow your dream. And he was like, I want to play the trombone. And I was like, let's relook at this dream thing here. Because I don't know if you've ever heard a 14-year-old play, or he was actually 13 at the time, but if you've ever heard a small junior high kid try to play the trombone, or what I now call Satan's harp, I wanted him to learn the guitar because you can use the guitar later in life, okay? Nothing against the trombone, but you don't see a lot of adults carting that thing around, right? Anybody ever been out camping, sitting around a campfire? So peaceful. Look at those stars. Hey, Ricky, did you bring your trombone? Some adults, some dads will play the guitar till the kid falls asleep. That is so beautiful. How messed up is my grandkid going to be? Coulter's wife walks down, hey, I can't get the baby to sleep. Get your trombone. How scary is that to be trapped in a crib with Coulter standing over going, hey, little fella, need a trombone lullaby? But he wanted a trombone, so I bought it for him because, by the way, $1,200, buyer beware, $1,200. Not advocating it, but that is why people cuss. So I bought him a trombone. He went to school for a week. He practiced, and he came home, and then he played I'm going to call it a song. If it was a song, it should have been called, like, Who Punched the Moose in the Bladder? Because, even our dog was like, dude, you make me go outside when I make noise like that. We're dog people. We have a dog. Any cat lovers? I know there's cat people. Yes. And then let's do the rest of the poll. How many people here have self-respect and a brain in their head? That should be no, nothing against cats. I don't get cats at all. I don't know how you enjoy. Because if you go up to an animal and their first response is, I don't want that thing roaming around in my house at night. And isn't the definition of a pet something you can pet? The only way I think you can pet a cat is you got to put Benadryl in its bowl. And then it still won't even like it, but it'll be too sleepy. It'll be like... Anyway, we got a dog. We got a retired drug sniffing dog. We adopted him, and honestly, if you ever get a chance to do that, don't do that. I didn't think it through. We have a dog that's living in our house that's spent its entire life sniffing drugs, and you can tell. He doesn't hide it. He lets his fur grow all shaggy, and he wears a tie-dye collar, and he won't even bark right. He's all like, rough, man. He voted for Obama. No, that's not a dig. That is not a dig against Obama. He was legally able to. Acorn registered him. So, but no, my son played this song. This is why I want to tell you this. My son played this song. I didn't even recognize it, okay? Later, he told me it was the theme music to Jaws. And I was like, well, that was scarier than the movie. But I didn't even say that because here's what happened. He was playing this song, and it was not good. And I have never loved a song more because my son was playing a song for me. And that's when I got this great glimpse of how much God loves us. Because you know what? It doesn't matter. Maybe you're not playing the song the way that God created you to play right now. Maybe you've made some mistakes in life. It doesn't matter. He's your perfect father that's never going to stop loving you. And I was just looking at my son, thinking about that, and I was just overwhelmed. And a weird thing happened. See, I don't cry, and it's not a macho thing. It's just, I don't cry. I don't know why. I just don't cry. I've cried once as an adult, and it was over the dumbest thing. It was over a movie, of all things, Toy Story 3. Oh, did you cry at that? Did you? Okay, come after the show and tell me what part you cried at. I'm interested about that because I always find out that I cry at different parts than other people. The part I cried at, and if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about, but the part I cried at was when the lady said, sorry. The part I cried at was when the lady said, that'll be $87 for 5 tickets to go in and see the movie. And why is it so expensive to go to the movie? Anybody else here, be honest, make popcorn at home and then sneak it in? Yes. And then sell it to other people. But it was such a great moment, and I was just looking at my son thinking how much I loved him and how much God loves us, and I hope you guys realize that. And then my son interrupted my thought because he was like, what'd you think? And I was like, you know what? I think I love you so much, and God loves us. And it was such a moment. He just looked at me and goes, you're a great dad. I was like, thanks. And he goes, in fact, I got a surprise. Guess what? And I was like, what? And he goes, we learned 2 songs. You want me to play it? And I was like, do I want you to play it? No. I mean, I do, but it is late. It is time for you to take your communion. So I hope you had fun laughing at me, but more importantly, I hope you truly find the real joy that comes from knowing the Creator and knowing what that sacrifice on the cross comes from. That's where true laughter comes from, true healing, and true joy. And you guys have been an awesome crowd. Thanks for letting me talk to you tonight. God bless.